Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Saadiq, also known as the Black Yul Brenner. You can also see that we have a very special guest in the building, Miss Jessica Jackson. Now, I don't think I need to introduce you because you've seen her everywhere, but I will because that's the right thing to do. Of course, Miss Jessica Jackson, you've seen her all over, including the news, fighting for her city of Chicago. Of course, you know, I'll let her tell us, but we know her to be a part of Chicago Flips Red. Of course, y'all know that's an effort there to flip Chicago, which is a Democrat city blue, right? Flip it red due to a whole host of things that have taken place there. So I won't give it away. I will let her tell y'all all about it. And for those of y'all who don't know who she is, we're going to learn a little bit more about her. And then from this point, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I got to follow her because I'm telling you, she is dynamite. So, Donovan, before we give it to Miss Jackson, what say you?
What say me is welcome to the Demetra K podcast and show. You guys, we are not live right now. So if you guys are in the comments, please comment, but we're not live and we'll get to those comments as we can. I have been following Miss Jackson for a minute. When I saw her on WGN going off, I said, is that my sister up there? We come from the same type. You know, she has the same type of delivery that I do. No nonsense. So I love it. But do us a favor, you guys. It does take time to do these shows and bring these conversations up and bring these great guests to us. If you guys would like to continue to have these great conversations, there's a way you can do it. You could, we got a scrolling banner at the bottom, and you could Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Cash Money Order, all that other great stuff. Also, don't forget the African Diaspora News Channel app. You want to know what's going on in the African diaspora around the world. Very important. A lot of stuff is going to be going down. This morning, AI just took out 6% of Nestle's job employee thing that just happened this morning. So if it ain't going to be just Nestle, this is just the start of what's happening. So if you want to know what's going on, please download the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store. Not only do you get great content that you see here, you get exclusive content on that platform that you're not going to get in your algorithm. So when people talk about where's the black apps and whatever, I just gave you one. The African Diaspora News Channel app on Google Play, Apple Store. And I am so excited because I want to hear my sister tell us a little bit about her background, what got her, involved in things like that. Because we know what, Demetra and Miss Jackson, we all have a similar story when it gets down to it. But this is about Miss Jackson coming on here and updating us on what is happening. So Demetra, take it away.
So without further ado, Miss Jackson, tell us about yourself. What is who are you, right? Were you a Democrat before? And what caused you not to be one? And tell us about Chicago Flips Red.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, you guys. It's so good to be here. So good to be here. I love you guys. And I love the coverage that you all were doing for Chicago when all this was first starting off. You were one of the podcasts that picked Chicago up first and started talking about the work that we were doing there. And that got the ball rolling with a lot of other YouTubers looking at us in Chicago. So thank you for that. Thank you guys for that. That's wonderful. So as it pertains to everything else, okay, I was born and raised in Chicago, right here on the south side of Chicago. And I was born in the building that you all hear me fighting about my mother's estate. I've been here for 63 years. Now, what me and you have in common, Donovan, the recovering Democrat, is that after I graduated from college at the age of 22, I moved to Los Angeles. And I lived in Los Angeles until 2019. And the issue with my mother's probate estate is what made me come back to Chicago and see what was going on. Why is my mother's will getting caught up like this? Why is her estate being troubled like this? Because like you've heard me say, my mother had a full 100% will. 100% authentic will. She owed nobody not one dime of debt. Not one dime. This building, the 3-flat on the south side of Chicago, South Shore, the area that you're hearing them play up now. This building has been paid for since I was a teenager. So how does the probate process begin and my mother's estate get caught up like this? Except for they're stealing. When I say they, because we need to be careful when we say they. We need to be able to identify what's going on now. The probate process, with the help of the public administration office, together, they steal Black people's property through the probate process. That's an absolute truth. That's an absolute fact. That's an absolute truth, and it's an absolute fact. So what led me to City Hall was that very thing. Now, if you all recall, the first people you saw speak out against the migrants coming to the illegal immigrants coming to Chicago and South Shore, first it was the area over there under Lori Lightfoot's administration. And it was that school, Wentworth Elementary School in the Woodlawn area, that they had closed that school. And now they were going to open it to put illegal immigrants in there. The people in that community, they did the very first press conference, and they warned Lori Lightfoot that if she allowed that to happen, that she wouldn't get her seat back. That in fact happened, and in fact, she didn't get her seat back. After that, the next big press conference that we saw about this was South Shore High School, when Natasha Dunn and Carter Truss and them, right? That area is all of 4 or 5 blocks around where I am. So of course, when I see that, I'll go over there to try to find them for support, to let them know illegal immigration is not the only way they're pushing us out of our neighborhood. They're also getting us by stealing our real estate through situations like probate, illegal evictions, illegal property tax evictions, illegal foreclosures, illegal reverse mortgages, eminent domain. The list goes on and on and on and on. And we've heard about it for decades. But now with my mother's estate, here I am with concrete proof that this is what's happening. So I go to City Hall because if you remember that press conference, it was a Black attorney that they had at first that had like a shadow of a beard. When I went over there, as God would have it, he was working in his lawn, in his garden, in his front lawn. And that's how I ran into him. And actually, he's the one that told me to come to City Hall. So I went to City Hall, and they have a lottery system there to pull your name for City Hall to be able to speak. Again, as God would have it, my name got pulled that day. And that was the first time that I started public speaking. At the same time, Zoe Lee was protesting in front of City Hall about her mother's property being demolished by eminent domain. I didn't know Zoe. When you see an older gentleman on the podcast in City Hall with the painted colors, that's George Blakemore. He's been down in City Hall and an activist since forever. He was the one that approached me after he heard me public speak and tell me about how I need to keep coming to these meetings. And every morning he would call me, "Wake up, Miss Jessica, you need to come to these meetings. You need to come to these meetings." And that's how we got in the habit. I got in the habit of going to these meetings. He then told me about Zoe, that she's over there protesting about her mother's stuff. So I went over there to meet Zoe, and that's how I met her. So for, I'm gonna say, about a little over 2 years, it was me, Zoe, and Mr. Blakemore going down to City Hall, talking about how they were stealing our property, talking about how illegal immigration was ruining our communities. We wanted them out, and it would never happen. And then, you saw Michael Young Bay. He would be in there talking about how he needed shelter and that they wouldn't give his family shelter, yet they was giving it to illegals. So again, that's how all of us met, but we didn't know each other. We weren't an organization. We just were concerned citizens going down to City Hall, fighting for what was going on in our personal situations that affected the whole city. Chicago Flip Red was born out of us going to one meeting at the Public Building Commissioners meeting. They meet once a month on Tuesdays. Again, George Blakemore told us about that meeting. We go to that meeting, they have public speaking as well, but theirs is 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes. Zoe got up to speak. And this meeting is a real small, intimate meeting. It's not big like City Hall. It's small. And Mayor Brandon Johnson and President Tony Preckwinkle are at that meeting. And that's the meeting where contractors are there to get contracts with the city and stuff. That's what that meeting is. Well, for Zoe, 2 minute public speaking at that time, she got up and she said to Brandon Johnson and Tony Preckwinkle that she had been living in Atlanta, in Georgia, and that she was there when Georgia went from red to blue. She said, if y'all don't settle my mother's case, I'll flip this red. That's how that started. That's how that started. From that, I began to, we're going to say, bring that point home. Bring that mentality home by saying, yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen in Chicago. We need to flip this red because the local politicians, which are all Democrat in Chicago, all Democrat, all 50 of our aldermen are Democrat. All Cook County commissioners are Democrat. The mayor is Democrat. The governor is Democrat. All your public agencies that you go to for assistance with anything, all those are Democrat funded and Democrat ran. Chicago is a completely Democrat. Hence the nickname, the Democratic Machine. And that's just what it is. And that's just what it is. Well, as I'm steadily going, asking for help, asking my aldermen to help me, ringing the alarm on what's happening with my mother's estate, how they're stealing property, ringing the alarm on how they're moving these immigrants into our neighborhoods by me coming from living in California for that long period of time. Donovan, you know, like I know how that immigration was going to soon take over Chicago and how quick it's going to happen and how vigorously it's going to come. So from me having that experience, of course, get these illegals out. Come on, Chicago, fight back. Because one thing about LA, come on now, Donovan, you know, too many Black people out there was talking about, well, Mexico did used to belong to California. It did used to belong to California and was not pushing back at all. And the next thing you know, now you got less than 8% Black people in the whole population of California. And I was, of course I didn't want to see that happen to Chicago. This Chicago. So we start fighting back. You know what I'm saying? We start fighting back. And that's how all this started. Now, as time goes on, of course, that's why people affiliate me with Chicago Flips Red, because I acted as their advisor. I still will advise them, but I've always made it clear, I'm not a part of no organization. I don't want to be part of no organization. I don't want to be ever in a situation where I can't speak and act freely.
And I was going to say too, and I'm going to give it to Donovan. Yeah, because, when we see Chicago Flips Red, we just assume everybody is a part of it. So you were there during the inception, but not necessarily a part of the org. So you're there, but you're not there. Correct?
I think that's the best way to put it. I support them because I support the idea. It's just like how we support Black Lives Matter as a slogan, as the idea. But do we stand with that organization as an organization? No. But do you believe Black Lives Matter? Yes. So it's the same thing with Chicago Flips Red. Do I believe that Chicago has to get out of that Democratic rut? It has to do something different. It has to have a transforming of the mind, a transforming of the political mind. It has to happen, or either we're about to be doomed. That's clear. That's proof in the pudding. So that part I do agree with. But now, when you talk about the political side of that, the political way that they're moving, that's when we go separately, because I believe that for the Republicans, it's not enough for us just to talk about illegal immigration. I believe that the Republicans need to get that black vote. And the way you get the black vote is that you're going to address the needs and concerns of black people. And I believe that right now is the right time to do it because of the president that we have, because of the things that he has said as it pertains to Black Americans. Even with my case, right? The issues that we've seen him talk about as it pertains to the court system and corrupt courts. Why would I not take advantage of this time and tell Donald Trump, come on into Chicago and deal with this public corruption, this courts? Because we all know the only reason why street crime is out of control like that is because white collar crime is out of control. We all know that white collar crime manufactures street crime. We all know that no matter what the laws are on the books, if you get to court and if the judge does not uphold the law, it leaves you back out here to point A, if not be lower. So that's where we separate, so to speak, because politically, I'm saying the Republicans need to come on with it. This is it, especially Chicago. Especially Chicago. All eyes are on Chicago. So now, if the Republican Party can utilize this time to get up in Chicago, because at the end of the day, this is the land of Lincoln, correct? This is the land of Lincoln. Come on. Come on. How in the world did the land of Lincoln end up being the Democratic machine? That in and of itself is a mess. You hear what I'm saying? So now this is the perfect opportunity for the Republican Party to get on up in here, to get that what? Couch vote. You get that couch vote by what? Showing what the Republican Party is going to do for the Black community. If you want to really get up in Chicago, Republicans, that's where I'm at with it. And so that puts me like,
yeah,
over here, you know?
Right. Donovan?
Yeah, it's funny, a person like you, and I'm very sure you've already been approached about running for office and this is that. And people always say, well, Donovan, you're at city council at my city. Why don't you run for office? I get offered the white envelope, or don't talk about this, whatever. There's a lot of money in politics. And like I said, the most people in public corruption that's ever been arrested comes out of Illinois. Like you said, they're mostly Democrats, right? Because it's a Democratic machine. But at the same point, California, strong Democratic state, and yet Black people are marginalized so much to where we have less than 6% of the population. So here's my question for you, because you are a recovering Democrat. My question is, with such a high population of Black people in Chicago, seeing what is going on, and you seeing the gentrification that started back in the early 90s here in California, and you're warning them there in Chicago what is happening. I tell people all the time, look at California. That is the blueprint of what the Democratic policy is toward Black people. So with a high population of Blacks in Chicago and the first Black president from the South Side of Chicago and all this other stuff, why aren't those people seeing what you and a few other people are seeing? Because I find it kind of funny how I'm looking at Brandon Johnson and the budget holes he's trying to fill. He is asking the very people that he's taking resources from to pay more to keep people who shouldn't be here longer. And we know when taxes go up, they don't go down. It's very rare they go down. So why is it that a lot of people are sitting on their hands seeing what's happening there?
Donovan, that's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. And that's what I'm saying now, in terms of we have to elevate our political conversation now. We just have to, for the reason that you just said. Now, I've heard people in this city say to me, yeah, Brandon Johnson, yeah, he done messed up. Yeah, he messed up. But I'm going to tell you right now, Jessica, I'm going to tell you right now, if he run up against another white person and it come down to him and that white man, I'm still voting for Brandon Johnson. I'm still, and it's like, what do you say to that? What do you say? Come on, what do you say to that? It's except for those of us who are aware, we need to elevate our political conversation. Now, because this is gonna blow your mind right here. We had the public comment at the last public city council meeting on Thursday, and I got to public speak. In my public speaking, I came on and said it. I said, word on the street, Brandon Johnson, is that you are Haitian. Now, if that be true, that explains a lot. Come on, come on. So now, come on, Donovan, Demetra K. Here go the question. Now because that's been roaming around for a while now, especially people from the West Side, it's been roaming around that he a Haitian. He really a Haitian. He from Haitian descent, but ain't nobody saying nothing. Now, let's say the cat is out the bag. Same way. We sat here, Donovan. We sat here, Demetra. You saw us saying, Black people in Chicago for 2 years saying, we want these illegals out. Get them out our neighborhood. Get them out our neighborhood. Then you tell me, how was the media or Brandon Johnson or whatever able to manipulate the minds of Black people here, that once the National Guard got here and went over there to that South Shore building and got those illegals out of there? Tell me how it is that they was able to come on, flip that to they coming for us. See, they're coming and Brandon Johnson being able to say that to people on the news, and Black people that go find 2-3 Black people to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? We said for 2.5 years that we didn't want them in our neighborhood. Our Black alderman and that Black mayor poured them in our neighborhoods regardless of what we were saying. Our Black alderman did that to us. They are taking our money. Y'all the one who sit up and talking about they giving them EBT. They giving them more money than us. They giving them all the okay. Now you got the president coming in here saying, we're going to stop it. We're coming for the illegals and how? So then that answers your question, Donovan. How? I don't know. I don't know, because we're looking at it in real time. They put them in our neighborhoods. We down here for 2.5 years saying, get them out. Black people all over Chicago talking about they taking our resources. And then when the National Guard gets here and you see that it's Brandon Johnson and J.B. Prister that's making the smoke because they blocking ICE. They're the ones who have made Trump turn the flames up. They're seeing this. But yet, you tell me I don't know. Now that's where I would say this level of Black media and this level of thinking, this is where we need to go. This is where we need to go with our thinking. We need to go with our thinking, because the bottom line is this: we got to do something. We got to do something, because the Democrats just showed us that if we monkey around, yeah, they will open up that border, replace us, replace our political power. And then what? Because we don't have nowhere else to go. All we got is America.
Right.
That's all we have.
Right. A quick question. I remember when the governor sent the people to the illegal migrants up to Martha's Vineyard and to Kamala Harris's house. They didn't last a week there. Now in Chicago, it was flooded in the Black neighborhoods. So you never heard anything about illegals being put in the high-end white Chicago areas. Have you heard anything about that in regards to was there any illegals put in those areas?
Yeah. Yes, they were. Again, I'm talking about the pushback. When we started pushing back, yes, they did. They started putting them downtown. They started putting some of them on the north side. Yes, they did. Now, here's the difference. Because of the pushback, when they put them up on the north side and downtown and stuff, they put them up there with what? A limited time limit. Let's say, like they said, we're going to have them, I think, at that Wright College, for like those 3 months while they was out for summer, but when the semester started, they had to get out. Remember at Streeterville, up on the north side, remember they were supposed to be there by December 31st, and then, what was that, Alderman Hopkins, Brian Hopkins, said he wasn't going to renew that contract, and all this. They put him up there. But the difference was that they put him in the basement of the Harold Washington Library. That's down there downtown where the federal building is, and that big hotel that was right across the street from it. Oh, that was downtown.
Well, I'm going to say this too. The difference is, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, the difference is, especially in those neighborhoods, we know who lives there predominantly. See, politicians know not to play with them, because white folks and people with money, they be like, "You out of here, buddy. You gonna get one time to do that to us." So they know that. And the other things, to Donovan's point in regards to how do you change their minds, a lot of our people do not believe that Black politicians are actually an extension of white supremacy. They can't put two and two together. They think, oh, if they Black, they look like me, so they're like me, and there's no way they would hurt me. But in fact, and Ms. Jackson, the Black politician is worse, because in a sense, they're kind of like that Trojan horse. You don't really suspect it. And then when they start doing stuff, and you to this day, I'm sure you're hearing people say, well, it's not really that bad, because if it was somebody white, they would probably be worse. So we, in a sense, we explain that away, but we don't connect the dots that Black politician is really doing the bidding of white supremacy. In fact, they put them in those positions because it's just like the Black pastor. Anything he says, it's got to be the truth. So we're taught not to question them. So they put them there on purpose, because it's not a coincidence that they keep putting Black mayors in Black cities. It's optics. And so you can say, well, they look like me, and you don't think, well, they doing for everybody else. So we got to disseminate that message. Like, Brandon Johnson is an arm of white supremacy. That's the message that needs to go out.
And to that point, Demetria K, again, we got to elevate the conversation, because like you said, the first level of it is you put somebody Black there, and we automatically assume they're going to be advocating for us, and they're going to advocate for, because we in our minds, and rightfully so, don't see how another race could really come in here and advocate for us. So it's just like every other race, when white people put a white person in office, the expectation is that they're going to advocate for them. When an Asian puts somebody Asian in office, the same is that expectation that Asian is going to advocate for them. So we're not wrong to think that if you put somebody Black that they'll advocate for us. The only difference is we have proof, evidence that over the years, that's not what's happening with us. So we need to address that. It's a bitter pill, but we got to swallow it. That no, we can hoodwink with our political leaders. Now, the other side of that we have to come to terms with is this play that we've seen a track record of, putting Black immigrants in positions and letting them run that Black card. You see, isn't that what happened with Obama? If Obama would have ran that he was from Kenya, raised in Hawaii, what hope would he had to win? Oh, but when he threw that Black Michelle Obama with him, who was in fact from South Shore, the South Side of Chicago. Oh, when he put them shades on, did that pimp walk, talked about how he went to Trinity under Jeremiah Wright, and we off and running. First black president. Oh, only to find out he get in office. He flipped that. Come on, there go that word flip, Donovan. He flipped that to immigrants so fast. What? Then we see it. What with our Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul? What? Running on that black car, talking about how he got what? A whole civil rights division for black people who getting their property stolen on the south side of Chicago. I put a complaint into Kwame Raoul's office. He ain't even address it. Oh, everybody looking for him. He won't show up about this issue of real estate. Now, since this thing with these illegal immigrants, every time you look up Kwame Raoul at a press conference, they was finna run it again with Kamala Harris, even though she ain't even black. But look how they was gonna look to run it again. That she black, she a AKA, she went to Howard, Chucks and Pearls, we with Tupac. They ran that, right? They ran that. And she got in office, vice president, the night she won, and announced herself as what? The first vice president of South Asian descent. And even after she said that, when she got ready to run for president, didn't they sit up here and say she black? And then wasn't black people talking about she black, and had a whole argument about between black people about whether she black or not. D.L. Hughley talking smack about Janet Jackson and whoa. Y'all remember? So it's a whole thing that we got to redo with politics. Those of us who see it and know it, come on. If we truly not being paid off by people and all this and that, move. Keep on telling the people, enlighten the people. It should have been a what? When I said, you Haitian. Where is you Haitian? Now black people in Chicago need to be standing back and saying, wait a minute, hold up. This pseudo Mohawk then took our money like this. We ought to be mad. But watch how that whole immigrant conversation going. It's amazing.
Let me ask you this. Ever since the National Guard's been nationalized there and sent there to Chicago, what is your take on, I mean, is it effective? Has it lowered the violence? Has it lowered the status? Because like in DC, people are walking in the streets now, and people are doing what they got to do. I saw some clips of some people in Chicago saying the kids are outside playing now. They're not worrying about gunshots going off down the street. I mean, has it been effective in your opinion, in some case?
I think that common sense lets you know that if the National Guard is floating around Chicago, why you gonna be out there like that? That's common sense. All right. Now, as it pertains to the National Guard, now besides them being over there in that South Shore building, I haven't heard or seen them be deep in black neighborhoods, but they are in them Hispanic neighborhoods. Yes, they are. And that facility, that Broadview, Illinois facility that they having this big old protest that's on TV all the time, Broadview, Illinois. I just found out that that's a town that's like 71, 73% black with a black mayor. See, you got these white liberals, these white protests that come from other places, get on camera and start this stuff. Even if you look at this No Kings protest they had yesterday, they saying there was 250,000 people out there. All right, this is what they saying. Come on now. First of all, like I know, them paid protesters. It don't even make no sense. If you got that many people supporting you, Brandon Johnson, in any type of way, then how do you have a single-digit approval rate? Oh, that's all I got to say about that. Come on now. At some point, we just as citizens have to get tired of being insulted. There is no way you got a digit single approval rate. And you got that many people out there for you. Now, we go to City Hall all the time, like you all know. Again, if it was that many people speaking out and all this and that, they would be at City Hall. We see it all the time, just like the other day. They bust in protesters. How do you know? You see this man today with the green t-shirt on. If you come around all the time, next week or 2 weeks, he gonna be back, but he gonna have on a red t-shirt. And then he gonna come back and he gonna have on a green t-shirt. They the same protesters that get paid. Yes, they do. So you can't even get into that. But I will say there is a change here in the environment because there are X amount of people who want them here. If you look at the voting polls last time, they said that Republicans had a higher voting rate here in the city of Chicago and Illinois that they had seen ever, or either in the last X amount of decades. So with that being said, that lets you know that there's X amount of support for the troops to be here. People want them out of our communities. We want our people to work. We want our people to have jobs. It's too insulting to see these Hispanics parlaying all over the city and this and that, where you got us out of work. You got me and other people coming down here talking about y'all stealing our property. But you literally seeing them go on and on about all residents of Chicago demand housing and they deserve housing. We're going to protect the residents of this of housing in Chicago. While at the same time you stealing real estate and dangling the carrot of affordable housing in front of everybody.
So let me ask you this. I was just doing some looking real quick. See what the racial demographics of Chicago is. So right now it says it's 33% white, 29% black, and 29% Hispanic. But in the year 2000, it was 37% black, 32% white, and 26% Hispanic. So where are the black residents going? And do you feel that immigration is making it to where the Hispanic population is catching the black population? And when we say Hispanic, I know, like, because I'm from the West Coast, so we think about Mexicans. What type of Hispanics are in Chicago?
It's all type of Hispanics here. You got your Venezuelans here, Mexicans here, Guatemalans, Ecuadors, but at the end of the day, they are all Spanish-speaking people. Okay, so they have that commonality right there. Okay, now you do see more Hispanics here now because you saw them bringing in, what was that, at one time, they were bringing in 10, 12 buses a day of immigrants. Yeah, so that number for sure is going up. Now, just like we know from California, once you had this infiltration of immigrants like that, it drives up real estate, it drives up the cost, and then your people move out because unlike immigrants, black people got one name. We got one social security number. We get paid from one job. And if you get paid from a second job, they taxing you because it's one social security number. It's one name. These Hispanics, you already know it. They're coming with 3, 4 different names, 8, 6 different social security numbers. They're getting paid this way. They're getting paid under the table. They're getting paid. So now that allows for the cost of housing and stuff to go up, for real estate to go up, because it appears that you got people that can pay for it. Now, once you start making real estate go up like that, the working class got to move to somewhere cheaper. You got to go because you got one name, you got one social security number, and they're taxing you, where you sitting back and literally watching these other people get money hand over fist, even when you talk about the money that they're getting from government agencies. In America, right? You can't get welfare. A woman can't get welfare if she got a man in the house. Whereas they're giving welfare, housing to their whole families. They're not requiring that that man be out the house for these immigrants to get that money. So now that whole family gets that money. Plus that man go hustle at Home Depot. Then the woman go over here and hustle housekeeping and being a nanny. And then that other one go hustle contract. See, that's why that thinking that they work for cheap. They work for cheap. Well, because they getting paid 88 different ways. So it doesn't matter that they only making $8 on this one because they finna hit another $8 an hour on that one, $10. They still got their public money coming in. Here go their EBT or SNAP cards. It doesn't matter. It only matters to you, Black woman, you, Black man, that you want to go out here and get $20, $25, $30 an hour and you can get undercut. That lie that they take jobs that we don't want. We don't want to be aldermen. We don't want to be city councilmen. We don't want to be policemen, bus drivers. They ain't just picking strawberries. But these are the things that we'll sit up and make ourselves believe just to, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe you all know why.
Well, I always tell people this, and I know it sounds harsh when I say it, but the thing is, people say, and Demetra says it all the time, it's my delivery. Your delivery is like my delivery. You make it plain and clear, and you have the urgency in your voice. The time of being nice and, oh, hey guys, we got to get together. Come on, let's have fun. We're out of time. Black people are out of time. So my question is this, and before I do that, I always tell people, when you let these people run for city council and on the planning commission, like I said, Moreno Valley here is very corrupted, whatever. And we saw what's her name, Martinez, that was caught on the mic in LA. All those city council people, we see what they do when they get there. They intentionally marginalize Black people. Now, I can't say all of them, but the ones that have been caught, it seems obvious to me there's something in their culture to where they want to elevate their people above our people. And I've always said this about me, which is different than Demetra. I'm not for the status quo, because the status quo that we've been living under since we've been in this country is Black people at the bottom. So that's why I don't mind a Donald Trump. I don't mind, we need something different. And Donald Trump, if anything he's done, he has woken up a lot of Black people to what is going on. But the question that I have for you is, we know what the problems are. We know what the symptoms of the problem is. What is the solution for us? So as a advocate and an activist in the city and an elder spokesperson, an elder woman, what do you tell the younger people? Because I think the biggest mistake the civil rights generation made was stopping the revolution. Once they got their car, once they got the government job, once they got the pimp hat and they went to the disco, everything was good, right? Life was good. And I always tell people, I'm not up here for me. I'm not up here for you or Demetra. Demetra's doing well for herself. My generation, most of my friends, they've got houses, they've got cars, they're retiring and doing all this. I'm up here fighting for the younger generation, because what a lot of people don't understand is the 24 million migrants that are here illegally, and even if they have status, that's not the danger. The danger is, it takes about 5 years to get an immigration case to go in front of a judge. It takes about 5 years. That's what they're saying. What are those illegal immigrants doing in those 5 years while they're waiting? They're making anchor babies. They're making children. And those children are a direct threat to my grandchildren, because, again, here in California, with 6% of the population being Black, what voice do we have? We have no voice. So my question to you is, as an elder person who understands what is going on and you see what is going on, what are some of your solutions to the problem?
The only solution, the only immediate solution that I see is that we are going to have to vote differently. That's our immediate solution. We got to vote differently. We got to vote differently. Even when you look at the couch vote for the national election, right? And the couch vote is what brought the Democrats down. That goes without saying. Even though you had 90-some% of the Black people that did in fact voted for Kamala Harris in terms of women, and 70-some% that were the Black men that voted for her. But that was of the ones that went and voted. The couch vote sunk the Democratic Party. Okay. All right. And it was a good strategy nationally, and it worked well this time. However, it's not a long-term solution. It's not a long-term solution. The long-term solution now is to learn what was thrown up in our face all the time, which Ice Cube reminded us about. And yeah, Demetri K., I went to go see Ice Cube when he was here a couple of weeks ago at the United Center. Yes, I did. Me and my daughter went. Yes. And one thing that you heard him saying when he was doing his contract for Black America, he kept saying, people always tell us our ancestors fought and died, bled and died for the right to vote. But they wanted something for that vote. It wasn't just to vote. Remember, he would keep saying that? Okay, again, we're talking about elevating our conversation now. We need to let people, these young people know, yes, it is power in that vote. What we have noticed here is that they trying to minimize and dilute the power of the vote. That's why they're willing to give it to illegals for nothing. Just like we're seeing them dilute the Civil Rights Act by giving it to everybody for nothing. We're seeing them dilute the 14th Amendment by saying anchor babies can get it. Come on. Our stuff is there. Young people need to understand why you're talking about what the older people didn't do. Shut up. The older people got you off the back of that bus. Shut up. Now, if you want to do more, they done laid the foundation and made the soil for you to do more. But it's going to take more than just being on, it's going to take, come on. It's going to take more than just being internet. Getting hits and likes. We got to get legislation. Am I still going? Oh, I froze.
Yeah, you kind of cut up. We hear you.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You know, that's where it is now. You know, we need legislation. Our younger people need to understand the importance of legislation, that Civil Rights Act, that 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, those are forms of legislation. Even though Trump is coming in and doing executive orders, they can be flipped by another president. That legislation is what we need, because that's going to come through Congress and all this and that in order to be changed. That's what we need them to understand. That's what we need these immigrants, illegal immigrants, to understand. What it means when we say that our parents and grandparents fought and bled and died for that right to vote. I dare the Democrats come and do a no king thing. Talk about no kings. This country ain't got no king. We vote in this country, and we voted Donald Trump in. The people did, and the Electoral College did. It ain't no king in America. We voted them in, and they are wrong to disregard our vote by bringing in illegals and giving them what we have by saying they ain't even got to have an ID. They ain't even got, you got to have an ID to get in the club. They telling you you ain't got to have an ID to vote. That's them minimizing what our parents and grandparents did. We all not allow that. That's where it is. Young people, you going to shut your mouth up about the way any of us voted in. Because unless you took a water hose, unless you took a dog bite, you doggone right they agreed to that civil rights bill to get our parents out of Jim Crow. Now they out. Now, I will admit, Our generation, Donovan, we didn't fight that hard because we did reap the benefits, so we thought, of integration. Okay, so we was the first ones to do this or the first ones to do that, and that was a hell of a lot to deal with. To be the first black this in our office, to be a first black that in a school, to be a first black that was a hell of a thing. But we got on through it, and it would have went further. But this is what we do know. Let's tell the truth. What knocked the wind out of us that we couldn't even get that progress for our generation, Donovan? That crack and AIDS epidemic. Boom. You know it like I know it. By the time we was in our 20s, and we should have been able to soar, because now we in our 20s behind that civil rights bill being passed, right? We should have been able to soar. What did they do? Hit us with that crack and AIDS epidemic. That's part of reparations too, because we see the effects of that even right now.
And don't forget the crime bill. Don't forget that crime bill.
All these kids that got fast tracked into special ed, the mass incarceration of that.
And that Joe Biden crime bill, they said over 1 million black people were under some kind of
what I'm saying?
jurisdiction.
You know, it's a reason why things landed the way that they landed 20 or 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think we lost a little bit. Should be back. I think a lot of people don't realize all the other stuff, like she said, the crack epidemic, the, you know, HIV, AIDS, and just a whole host of other things. Like you said, Donovan, those crime bills, those were all meant, we'll get it back on. Those were all meant to destabilize the black community. Like she said, once, you know, the baby boomers and them, they got the civil rights legislation. They thought, okay, great. And we talk about this a lot. Oh, well, now we can eat next to white people, live next to white people. Our problems are over. They can't, you know, put us up in trees no more, legally anyway. And then when they saw us kind of making some progress, like she said, they ushered in those things. And even, Donovan, we talk about it even to this degree in regards to our music. Now, we grew up in a generation of conscious music, right? And then they brought in what? You know, your NWAs and then your Little Kims and then we ain't been put right since, because we know that music is one of the most influential ways to, you know, to get to people. So they like, nah, black people now learning to be conscious. They ain't trying to be all about the material things no more, you know, and then it's like, yeah, we got to change that.
Yeah, and then think after the gangster rap, well, what was the next genre after that? It was the P. Diddy and the excess of this and that and that and this. So P. Diddy was a big thing, you know, get all you can get and more. So.
And Ms. Jackson, we were just talking about, we are agreeing with you in regards to, I'm switching, in regards to, like you said, when they saw what, you know, the civil rights movement, and maybe we was getting up a little bit and progressing, because now we was living next door to them and stuff, and was getting. Then they, like you said, they ushered in all the other stuff, the crack, the HIV, AIDS, and we were talking about the music. And when it was conscious, it started to become conscious, PE, KRS-One, all them. And then they say, yes, you know, I hate to say this, but throw a little NWA in there, because, you know, I love Ice Cube. But throw NWA up in there and all the raunchiness, and we ain't been right since. So, but we got to, like you said, though, we got to elevate higher with our thinking and be cognizant of the tricks of the oppressor. That's just, it's nothing new. They're never going to stop doing it. But at what point do we say, especially in regards to politics, I want something different? Yeah, I know traditionally we're told as black people, vote for them because they black and vote blue no matter who. But then the other side of that is, well, how's that been working for you? Your neighborhood's any better? Like, well, how's that been working out?
And I just want to add this real quick. I noticed that when I go to city council in my cities, when I go, it's not just me that's there. There's like 4 black people, all these Hispanics, and guess who? And you know, I live in a Hispanic town, which is no problem. But the point is, they bring their children, and their children are learning to participate. See, us, and I'm just speaking from my experience. You got the only time you see a black person in city council, especially a young black person, is when I need a housing voucher. I just moved out here from LA and right? They want the resources, but they don't want to participate. And so when I was saying in regards to the older generation, I respect that the baby boomers are the most effective generation. I think their biggest problem is they staying in the power a little bit too long, but they are the most, reflective generation that really changed America for, the way it is today and a lot of the opportunities we have. But the problem is, and this is my opinion, when they did all this transformative stuff, when it was our time to lead and our time to take care of our children, oh baby, don't worry about it. Grandma got it. They didn't teach the next step. And I think for our generation, we need to teach the next step, if not for us. And I bring this up all the time. A good example is like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is old enough to be my son. Demetra's too young. She's about 25 or whatever. So Demetra's a little bit too young to know anything about anything like that, right? So I asked Demetra, me and Demetra talk about this, and I said, how does a child that is equivalent to my son be as racist as he is? Guess what? He spent time with his grandparents who come from a different era of people that probably taught him what to look for, what not to look for in their time. And I'm not saying, it's wrong. What I'm saying is what is right is those people continue to teach the next generation down and down. And what we've got to do, since they've put us in this trick bag, is to show our younger people, how the hell can you be living in a community and you know nothing about the community? You don't know what they're building in the community. You don't know the alderman or the council person that you should be able to name the mayor and all the council members in your city. You should be able to do that. But in our community, we don't. We're too busy. And I get it. We're working. We're raising our families. We're going to the baseball games. We're going to the Ice Cube concert. You know what I mean? We're doing all these things. But at the end of the day, I really think we have to pull our grandchildren in so they don't make the same mistakes that we did, because we got comfortable. Oh, mama's got it. That older generation's got it. And guess what? That older generation's got it so long, they're still in power today.
And I'm going to say this too, before we wrap up. Not only that, in addition to that, Donovan, the generation out of the civil rights generation, we kind of talked about this a little bit, felt like, that was a lie that's over now, though. No, we ain't got to worry about that. But not knowing the nature of white supremacy, it never goes away. It might go dormant. Legally, they might have had to, peel it back. They never disappeared. They just found another way of doing it. So to your point, Donovan, my mom and it was baby boomer, my dad's silent generation, believe it or not. But yeah, they just felt okay. And, and the more so would have been her parents. We good now, baby. Don't worry about it. Go on and get that good job next to the white folks and, and live next door to white people. They ain't going to mess with you no more. But lo and behold, here we are. So that's what happened. Yeah, I think it's probably her
internet.
Yeah.
Oh, there she go. There she is.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
No, I was listening. Go ahead, Demetra K.
Yeah, so I was just making that observation. So with the last minute that we have, I'll give you the last word. What do you want people to know? Not just about with the efforts in Chicago regards to Chicago Flips Red, but what do people need to do? Because you drew inspiration, due to what happened to your mother's property. And Donovan, you probably heard him tell this story. He drew inspiration because Donovan has been deployed 16 times and didn't really have time to really sit and do politics or even pay attention until he retired and he saw the madness that was going on in his city, and we can't get the man to shut up. But the point that I'm making is, people come to it in their own terms, but some people may not get that spark of inspiration. So how do people get involved in where they live in regards to politics?
I think that interview between T.I. and Harry Belafonte sums it up the best. You know, when T.I. is asking Harry Belafonte how should he approach being an activist as a celebrity, right? And Harry Belafonte makes the connection to him in terms of, well, what was different back in the civil rights movement or whatever, is that there was a common thread that all Black people had, which was that they wanted to get out of Jim Crow / segregation, right? Whether you was rich Black, poor Black, educated Black, poor, you know, that was a common thread. Harry Belafonte made the point that today Black people don't have that quote unquote common thread. He says, so now it's more of a personal matter. He said, when your situation comes to your door, like how you saying Donovan's situation, my household, when my mother's estate, that's a personal situation that came to my door. Now, in my decision to fight for my rights, that's what's going to give me the fuel to go down there to City Hall, to press it in court, to fight, you know, over here, to fight over there, to do podcasts, get the word out, and it has the rippling effect to everybody else. So what do I say when people could see me? I'm gonna come down there and I'm gonna support you when I get a chance. No, don't come and support me. Come and support what's happening with you, because it's something that's going on with this whole situation that's affecting you. You come and fight for you, because coming to fight for me, crooked as these courts are, you're going to run out of wind if you're doing it for me. But if you're doing it for yourself, you're going to keep on at it, just like me. You're going to keep on at it till you get some results. And as you're working, you're going to awaken the minds of other people that's watching you. So that's the only solution to it now. You come to what's bothering you. You don't want your kids to learn about same-sex relations in 3rd grade, 4th grade. If you got a 3rd grade, you need to come talk about you, your kids. You can't get a home loan. You can't get a small business loan. You need to come talk about that with you. If you're a plumber, contractor, and now you can't get contracts because the illegals taking your stuff after you done went and got your license to be a plumber or mechanic, you need to come talk about you. You come talk about you, then it's going to take care of everything else. That's how what Harry Belafonte told T.I., and I think is right.
100%. And lastly, what happened with your house? Are you still fighting for it, or?
Yeah, I'm still in my mother's building because I'm already said it, Demetri K. Ain't nobody finna take nothing from me. My mother and them paid for this. This is paid for. Now I understand in South Shore, white boys want to steal it. That's what they do. We just talked about that. They just go to that. That's what they do. But that don't mean that I'm supposed to be somewhere talking about that's what they do. You know how they are. No, what I know is my mama got a full-fledged 100% will. I know this been paid for since I was a teenager. I know that white boys cheat in court by making distorted court documents. These judges put stuff in court documents. Half of these civil case trials don't have stenographers in them. So it's no way to combat what's in these court orders. That's the conversation, political corruption in the courts. Like Paul Mooney told us through comedy years ago, watch these courts. Come on, watch these courts. Don't think it's just criminal court, because most of us don't even go to criminal court. But all of us going to end up in some type of civil proceeding at somewhere in our life. And civil proceedings is where they get the economic harm. That's how they're going to steal your real estate, through a civil proceeding. That's how they're going to.
Let me interrupt you real quick. And that goes back to my point of we don't pass down financial literacy to our children and our grandchildren. How many of us, when Big Mama dies, knows what to do at that point, even if there is not a will? We don't know. We don't know about paying property tax. We don't know about, because we don't teach that to our kids. See, I think that's one of the biggest problems. And then under the law, they could come in and snatch these properties up. I tell people all the time, and you're from South Central LA, those little crackerjack homes that you saw in the movie Boys in the Hood, worth over $1 million.
Yes.
And those people were public domained out of that property for $350,000. Where are you going to get a house for $350,000 in California? You have to leave the state. Yeah, you're not. But if they had stayed and kept their properties and fought, and that's our problem. We don't pass the knowledge down. That's what you, so what you're going through, probate, I guarantee you, if I go to a younger person and I talk to them about probate, they wouldn't even know what that meant.
We know what it meant, and know what, and I'm just gonna say this real quick. That's been the most hurtful thing about this. Is that when I'm fighting like this for my property, and to see how few of Black people were interested in what I'm saying. You would think that they would go and check their paperwork and make sure that everything is in order with their property. You would have thought that they would have been saying, you know what, all these abandoned buildings and vacant lots and stuff on our blocks that's depreciating the values of our property that we still have. You would have think that Black people would have been on that. No, they too busy trying to poke holes in your story. Well, your sister did. Well, what's the property taxes? And it's like, oh my God. This is why I say elevate the conversation. God, oh, because it should have been tons of Black people down there about their property, not about mine, about yours. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's where we are as a people now. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you keep looking at the same thing and not doing something different? They stealing our property. They breaking out. They're taking our stuff. They're taking our laws. They're doing all kinds of things, and we know it. And we know it. And we're not talking up. We're not fighting back. We're not fighting back on the level that we should be, because they didn't gave so many of us Section 8, EBT, that's closing our voice. Then you putting them in these political positions. They not speaking up there because they're going to lose their contract. They're going to lose their, then you over here with working people. They ain't saying nothing because they're going to lose their job. They're going to, and all those things are valid concerns. But what I'm saying is it leaves a very small path for people like me and Donovan, who are free to any way we want with this.
Absolutely. So we're going to let you go because I know that you are very busy, but we appreciate you coming to visit us, and come back to see us anytime that you want to have a conversation about what's going on, the progress, or you want to get the word out about something. We'll always be here for you to use our platform.
Well, thank you for that. And you guys are doing a wonderful job, and keep up the good work. Any way that we can help get the information out, I'm going to do it. You know, shout out to Phil Scott, shout out to Vicky Dillard, shout out to y'all, because y'all are constant with it. You're constant with it, you know, and you bring in the information. It's okay if you don't agree with everything somebody says. What is okay is that the information is getting out there, and it should make you think and make you participate in making your community and your family and your race better. So I thank God for you all. We'll be in touch. And shout out to LA, and you in Texas, right, Demetra? You in Texas.
For now.
But now. I understand that, because I never thought I would be back in Chicago. I just never thought it. I had been in California for 35 years. I just never thought it. I just never thought that I would be back in Chicago. I never even saw it coming. But when this happened with my mother's estate, I came to see about her stuff. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it rolled into this. So I appreciate God giving me the opportunity to help my people, because I love Black people. I'm telling you, I love being a Negro from the South Side of Chicago. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I know that's right.
Yeah. Right. So thank you guys, and praise God for you.
Thank you. And come back and see us again.
I will.
All righty. Bye, y'all. We'll see y'all a little bit later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.